Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel and Happy New Year. If you're new here, welcome. And if you are a returning friend, thank you so much for your support. I had wanted to make bruschetta or bruschetta, however you pronounce it, for New Year's Eve as a snack. And so I was having trouble finding fresh basil, but my daughter went to Trader Joe's and she was able to pick me up some Roma tomatoes. And then she couldn't find the fresh basil, but then she found a basil plant. So that is what I'm going to use for my basil today. And then when I am done with that, then I will plant the plant. And so I can have fresh basil throughout the year. I started by washing the tomatoes and the basil leaves, picking the basil leaves off of the plant and washing them, and then drying them on a paper towel. And now I am cutting the tomatoes into very fine little pieces or a tiny dice, petite dice. And I do that by using a very sharp knife, so be careful, and making slices down vertically and then horizontally, and then cutting against those to get a fine dice. You will need to plan on about 1 tomato per person, plus a couple more. And if your family is really crazy about bruschetta, then I would plan on 2 tomatoes per person. I actually have always pronounced it bruschetta, and I know that that's not the correct pronunciation, but that's how we call it in our house, or what we call it in our house. So I'm just getting all of these tomatoes sliced up, and I know it looks like it will take a long time, but in real time, it only took me about 10 minutes to do 7 tomatoes. It is really a very simple and basic put together recipe. And you don't really need to measure anything for it. So now that I have all of those chopped, I can go ahead and work on chiffonading the basil now, or slicing it up into very thin slices or pieces. I just stack the basil leaves, about 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 of them, and then roll it up like a cigar, and then you just run your knife through it into very thin slices, and you can run it the other way, run the knife through it the other way to make them smaller if you'd like. And here is where a bigger, sharper knife would probably work better for this. So into the bowl it goes with my diced tomatoes. I am going to season this up with some seasonings, and then we'll be ready to eat in just a short amount of time. I'm adding salt, just add it to taste, and then I am adding coarse ground black pepper to taste. I am adding garlic powder to taste, just about a shake and a half. more if you like it really garlicky. And of course you could use fresh garlic with this if you wanted to. And I've seen cooking shows where they don't add garlic to the tomato mixture, but after the bread is broiled, they rub a cut garlic clove onto the bread to get the garlic flavor. I'm adding a few tablespoons of a light olive oil to this. So like I said, I don't really measure anything with this recipe. I have some balsamic vinegar here, and I am just going to add probably the equivalent of a couple of tablespoons. You can put as much or as little as you like in it. And so now I am just stirring this well to combine everything. After I stirred it, I did add a little bit more chopped fresh basil and also a little bit more balsamic. When I've made this in the past, I usually put it over toasted or grilled French bread, or you can use a baguette. But on this day, I had been to Aldi in the morning and I had picked up a loaf of sourdough bread. And so, since I had that, I decided to use that for this. And so I cut the slices into halves since it's a very large slice of bread. And I am just arranging them on the baking sheet and cutting the end pieces a little thinner. And then I am just going to take the light olive oil that I used in the bruschetta mixture, and you can brush that over the bread. I just use a spoon and just put a little bit on and spread it with the back of the spoon to brush it on. But if you prefer to use a brush, use that. I just don't like to wash more utensils than I need to. So when these all get a layer of oil on them, I'm going to put them in the oven on broil on high. And so this is one of those you can't leave the kitchen type situations. You need to stay right there and check it often so that you don't burn it, because it can turn on a dime. And this is me just adding a little bit more fresh basil to the mixture. I usually just broil the bread on the top side, which leaves the bottom side a little softer. If you want a crunchier slice of bread, then turn them over and put them back under the broiler for 30 seconds, a minute, however long until it's the desired brownness that you would like. So now I have these slices of bread that I just put back on the cutting board, and that is just going to be a very informal way of serving this to my guests. And it's just a very informal and casual type presentation. But I think it looks beautiful. It was very tasty, and my family loves it, so it was gone within minutes. We actually toasted up more bread, but it didn't last long. This is great for any type of party or celebration or just a quiet evening in. Thank you so much for watching. Happy New Year. Goodbye.